Tonight in Arkansas, there's a mother tucking in her daughter and turning off the light. A business owner's burning the midnight oil. An at-home dinner date is plating up possibility. And it's all happening under one roof. How? The power of a conversation, like the one John from Integrity Solutions had with First Horizon Bank about his vision for a sustainable mixed-use building. Now it's not just words, it's life. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/John. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app. Extra 106.3 and a Second Chance Bail Bonds are here to back your blue. Back Your Blue highlights special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Join a Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Matalon and host Tug Coward to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Now it's time to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Cowart, here with Darcy Kamau. She is with the Cobb County DUI Court and is a program director there. Also the assistant coordinator, which is Tiffany Jones. Thank you all so much for taking the time to come in. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, my gosh. And we're delighted to have you. And, of course, we got Daniel Matalon. He is the CEO of a Second Chance Bail Bonds. Man, we couldn't do the show without you.
Yep. That's part of it, right?
That's right. That's what he gets all bashful in here, right? Turn on the microphone and he gets bashful on me. But it's the truth. He's got so much knowledge and just so much experience in this world that we talk about that I really don't. Yeah. Like, I can lead the discussion, I can lead the conversation, but he has the expertise to really talk about it in depth, and it's so important that he's here. And so how did you meet Darcy and Tiffany?
Well, I've been working in the Cobb County world since 2007. That's when the Second Chance first started, and then we began interacting with that program shortly thereafter with defendants that we had that were in their program.
There you go. So we'll start with you, Darcy. Born and raised in Central Valley, California.
Valley girl.
Yeah. All right. Do you say like a whole bunch?
Probably in my younger days.
You tailored it all for court?
Yeah, I've matured a little bit.
Yeah,
I've added a few words to my vocabulary.
No, that's awesome. But graduated California State, got a bachelor's in sociology, then graduated from Norwich University with a master's in justice administration.
Yes.
Managed the development program through the Carl Vinson Institute of Government at UGA. How about them dogs?
Go dogs.
Yeah.
Go
See,
dogs.
I knew I liked you already. Anytime that's the first thing out of your mouth, it's like you were meant to be here.
Yes.
It's like the good Lord had a plan. He knew you were coming here.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? I know that the good Lord of heaven is a Georgia fan. You know how I know that?
Please tell me.
Yeah. What's dog spelled backwards? Hard to argue, right?
Hard to argue.
Yeah. God is dog spelled backwards. So it's just a little God wink. That's all it is. It's a little crumb. That way you know.
Okay.
Good Lord knows.
That is the first I've heard that.
Yeah, well, that's because I just made it up.
Okay.
I just came up with it myself. No, but seriously, Carl Vinson Institute. I mean, Carl Vinson, obviously a huge fixture in the United States Navy, where I came from, too.
Oh, go Navy.
How about that? Is there any connection to the Navy?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little.
Okay.
So my husband is a veteran. My dad's a veteran. So my brother-in-law is a veteran. So all Navy. Go Navy.
That's exactly right, man. I'll tell you what. And you've been doing this since, 2020, honored with the Georgia CJ Star Award winner, coordinator role, and then honored with the Cobb Bar Association Award. It seems like you've been active. You've been busy.
Well, what happens is when you get old.
Oh, stop it. How old are you, 22 now?
Close.
Okay.
Maybe times a couple of numbers.
Oh, stop. I don't believe that for 1 second.
So yeah, I've been in the industry or in the field for a long time, so over 20 years. So and really, it's all been in accountability courts. It's all been working with addicts. So that's just kind of been my niche, and it's been my passion. So it's easy to do things that you are passionate about.
I agree with you 100%. Where did the passion come from?
I don't really know.
Okay.
I think when I was in undergraduate school, I just got exposed. Accountability courts were fairly new. And so I got intrigued by the concept. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work in community supervision or corrections or something along those lines. And people would ask me, as graduation approaches, what do you want to do when you graduate? And I really didn't have a definitive answer, but I just kept saying, I don't know, I just want to make the world a better place.
Okay.
And I didn't know how I was going to do that. I didn't know in what capacity I was going to do that. But my first job out of college, well, temporarily, I was a substitute teacher. Do not recommend. But that was while I was waiting for my background check to get cleared and to go into probation. And my first caseload assignment in probation was working with drug addicts. So it just kind of really brought everything together. So I felt like I was making a difference in their lives and saving the community and really doing everything that I wanted to do. So it's just been some internal drive that I've always had.
I love it. Let's ask you, Tiffany, what about you? How did you end up where you are?
Well, I am from Cobb County.
Okay.
Born and raised. I actually come from a law enforcement family. So I graduated from KSU with a
Go Owls.
Go Owls. With a criminal justice degree. Started with Cobb County and then was a probation officer for a few years and then followed into the accountability courts. My brother actually beat me to be a police officer here in Cobb County.
Okay.
There was a nepotism thing, so he beat me first after our dad retired. And then I just went into the probation field.
Okay.
So.
And then you've been doing that for how long now?
Long now.
Been a day or two?
time.
Been a day or two?
15 years.
15
minutes.
years?
Few
Yeah.
minutes, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So I just admire people that love their community enough to work in their community because it is it can be a heavy task. You know, at times when you see things that are not going the way they should and you love your community and you have that passion for your community and things do not turn out the way that they're supposed to. And that's where the importance of people like both of you come in because y'all can make it better. Like people get tied up in presidential politics and maybe even state level politics. Yeah. But national politics. But truly, the things that can affect you and your family are happening in your community. The county commission, the city council, any of those. Yeah, the police department, the sheriff, the DA. I mean, those are the people that actually can have an influence in your community. So, is that? I mean, would you agree with that? Because that's my perspective.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of noise in the world. And it's easy to get distracted and pulled in a lot of different directions. But at the end of the day, what really matters is what's going on in your home, what's going on in your family, and kind of, I mean, it's not really egocentric, but it's just the reality, you know. It's if your home is a mess and your family's a mess, then you can't really focus on other things. So addiction is part of that. And if you have that disease in your family or in your own life or in your home, it derails everything. Everything else is irrelevant at that point.
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but a dear friend of mine is struggling right now with this exact same stuff. I mean, like he'd gone from pretty much running a company, being the most important person in the food chain, to now unrecognizable, and I don't know how to help him. I don't know how to help him. His wife doesn't know how to help him. I mean, like it is chaotic. Like chaotic is the kindest way that I can describe it, and it breaks my heart to see him in this situation, and yet we are here. I mean, physically, this is so close that it was. And this is like a best friend of mine for 15 years, kind of thing, and we don't speak very much anymore. It's not for lack of effort. I send him notes all the time and try to get him to respond, and so this is real. And I think people oftentimes either A, don't want to look at the reality, or B, want to just pretend that it doesn't exist. And I bet in your line of work at a Second Chance, you see that a lot with family members who are just either A, oblivious, or B, don't want to admit that there's an issue, don't want to admit there's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, every day. Yeah, 7 days a week we deal with people, and some people are better than others and, you know, are in different places. But, yeah, the progression's there. We see it with people that, you know, we get out and then starts with a traffic infraction, and then it ends up in a DUI, and then it ends up in domestic violence, and then it, you know, the felonies follow sometimes. And we try to encourage people to not go down that path. So we don't want to see you again. As much as this is how we make money, we'd rather not see you again.
Yeah, well, because I mean, it's bad for humanity. It's bad for the community if you have to see them multiple times, right? I mean, that's the whole point, is to give people the opportunity to do better and to get their life together. And I'm sure that's, Darcy, what you are focused on, too.
Yeah. Addiction is devastating. It's detrimental to the family institution, and it does not discriminate. So we have people from all walks of life in our program, and people at all different stages of the addiction. It could be early stages of the addiction, and they just were lucky enough to have an intervention early on. And it could be, we've had the worst of the worst, people coming in 20 years old with liver disease because they've already drank so much. So all walks of life, all stages of the disease, we want to be an intervention to not only eliminate them from, entering the revolving door of the criminal justice system or the courthouse, but really kind of stop that. But really just to, we say it all the time, it's just to redirect them. It's to change them and change their trajectory for life. It's really just to genuinely redirect the rest of their life. And whether it happens at 20 or 30 or 70, it doesn't really matter, because we're giving the rest of their life a different value than maybe what they would have gotten if they didn't have that intervention.
Tiffany, would you say giving their life back to them, maybe?
I would. We have seen families that are torn apart, children taken away, and then, they've received their kids back once they've graduated our program, and those families restored. And that's the most important thing, is to restore those families on top of breaking that cycle. Yeah.
And how do you know where people are in the cycle? Because you talked about early in the cycle, right? How do you know?
Well, that's the joy of not being a counselor. That's their job.
Yeah.
And so I joke with them all the time.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, well, here, this is going to be a real hard case. Go ahead, fix him.
Yeah.
Like, that's your job, not mine. I'm here to pay the bills and run the show.
Yeah, right.
But we're blessed. We have some of the most amazing and phenomenal counselors and clinicians that work with our program. They're directly contracted with us. We have all our services in-house. And so that gives them the freedom to really kind of just do their thing. And so they are passionate about our people and their clients, and they invest way more than they get paid to, as far as energy and resources into this program. And so they want everyone to be successful, and they will fight for each and every one of their clients. So,
talking to Darcy, Kamau, and Tiffany Jones of the Cobb County DUI Court, program director, program coordinator, and assistant coordinator as well. When we come back, when was the DUI court implemented by Cobb County, and why was it started? We'll get the answers to those questions on Back Your Blue with Daniel Madelon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds here on Extra 106.3.
This is Back Your Blue, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds, live on Extra 106.3 FM and streaming for free anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome back to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3 with Daniel Madelon. He is the CEO of A Second Chance Bail Bonds. My name is Tug Coward, along with Darcy Kamau, and she is the coordinator, the program coordinator at the Cobb County DUI. Did I say it wrong?
No, you did. You said, and you're doing a really wonderful job with Kamau. I just want to say
thank you very much. I thought I heard the scuffling. I was like, oh my gosh, did I say it wrong? It makes me nervous.
You're doing great.
You're very kind, because I sound like a hillbilly and I can get it wrong. If it can be gotten wrong, I can get it wrong.
No, you're doing wonderful.
Well, you're very kind, and I appreciate that. Program coordinator, Cobb County DUI Court, and Tiffany Jones, the assistant coordinator. I can't screw that one up. I mean, even I.
Easy.
Yeah, even I can't get that one wrong. Daniel, it's a great day to talk about the things that are going on in the DUI court. And have you seen positive things coming out of this DUI court, because it's a voluntary post-conviction treatment-based program for people who've been convicted multiple times for driving under the influence or other substances, and it's part of a probation sentence. How do you feel about it?
Well, I first want to say the Cobb County program, I'm a huge fan of. It was the first government RFP that we were awarded at A Second Chance Monitoring.
What's RFP? What is that?
So basically, there's a bidding process to make it fair to everyone.
Sure.
And you basically submit your proposal to the county, and then the county makes a decision.
I got it.
on who they would like the provider to be going forward, and there's terms and limits and everything on that contract. So we were awarded the contract in Cobb County a little over a year ago, I guess maybe almost 2 years ago now, and so I can't say enough great things about
That's awesome.
this, and I've even encouraged other agencies. I was just telling them before the show that they need to go see Cobb County just because they run a great program. There's a lot of success coming out of it, which you don't see everywhere, and I think it requires a team to do that. So having that team plus the participants and getting the buy-in is huge, and we see it in the Cobb County program.
So why is it so good in Cobb County, Darcy? And we'll get to why it was implemented, why it was started, when, and all that. I mean, why is it so successful in Cobb County?
Well, I don't really think you can talk about one without the other.
Okay.
So the program was founded in 2008 by Judge Clayton and Emily Keener, and they are really the catalyst. They've started this, they put it together, they assembled it, they worked hard, put their blood, sweat, and tears in it, and they launched the program. And because of the foundation that they built, we've just been able to continue to build on top of it. So Judge Bruton is the presiding judge now. He's been with the program for 7 years. I've been with the program since 2010, so however long that makes it, 14 years. And I've been the director for the last, I guess, going on 12 years, 11 or 12 years.
All right.
So,
You've been at it a minute.
A minute. I've been there for a minute. So, but really the foundation that was established from the get-go allowed us to continue to build on that. And so something that we've done as a team collectively and as a program is we continue to follow the research. That's instrumental. There's a state agency, there's a national agency that kind of does all of the research, implements the standards, and teaches us how to make sure that we're doing no harm, which is important. We want to make sure that
it's almost like
the
a Hippocratic
policies,
oath a little bit.
Sort of. Because we want to make sure that the policies that we implement in our program are not causing more trauma, that we're, helping them, not hurting them. And the criminal justice system certainly has a history of causing some trauma. So we're very proactive about ensuring that our policies are therapeutic and beneficial and focus on behavior modification rather than punishment. And so that's kind of our goal. And I think everyone who works with the program is really just a genuine, compassionate person that wants to see all of the participants be successful. You can't interview for that. You can't hire for that. You can't breed that into your team. It's a character that's either there or not.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's why people like Tiffany are so important, because that clearly is embodied in you.
It is. Coming from a law enforcement family, I saw the other side. And until I actually came into the DUI court program, I didn't see the benefits of something, the treatment aspect of it. And I also have family members that are addicts.
Same here.
And some that have passed away. And, currently a friend of mine came to me asking for help. And to be able to have the resources that I've learned while in the DUI court program, so I can give those resources to family, to friends, to hopefully make their next journey better for them.
So important. We talked about, or Daniel brought up, that other places aren't quite as successful. So I would ask the question, do y'all partner with other municipalities to kind of say, here's what we've done, here's what we've worked on, this is what we've found to be successful, and give those, almost the secret sauce, give it to other municipalities as well?
Yeah, so Governor Deal, when he was in office, he really did a lot of work for accountability courts. And there was an organization that started called the Council of Accountability Court Judges. So they're kind of our local overseeing agency. They have standards. We have a certification process that we need to go through. And part of that whole process is also a peer review. So we've become a peer review team. So we go to other counties and participate in that peer review process. And we review them, give suggestions and stuff like that on how they're following or not following the standards that the state has set forth. And then we were recently awarded a model court status. So that means that other courts, if they're struggling, a lot of times in criminal justice or in government work, you have turnover, and this is a multifaceted team. So you have different agencies participating on the team. You have prosecutor, circuit defender, or public defender. You have law enforcement, you have probation, you have counselors. On family dependency courts or other programs, you might have, Cobb Works or employment services or DFACs. So depending on the type of court, you have all of these agencies coming to the table together to work on how they can help this participant be successful. So being a model court allows other programs who may be struggling or have had a lot of turnover, or have new team members, or they can come observe us. We can kind of coach them. And Paulding County is a great example. Paulding County doesn't have a DUI court. They will soon. And we've been really proud to kind of help them. This same is true with Douglas County. When Douglas County implemented their DUI court, they came and kind of met with us a lot and observed us, and we coached them through the process, and we share all our documents and tell them what works and what doesn't work for us.
But the hiring process, I think, has to be the most important, because you can have the most perfect setup, the most perfect organization, but if you don't have the compassion or the passion for the work, then you could see where that would get off the rails. Even if they're doing it the right way, if you got to have the right people. Do you help with hiring in those other places too? Do you help them at all with that? Because that seems like, to me, it would be the most important.
Not so much hiring, but maybe like
suggesting people,
coaching, or there's ways that you can do. Because we haven't always had people on our team that have loved being on our team, but they are in a different department and they have to be on our team. And so it's just through experience that you learn how to kind of coach them into what the process and procedure, like, this is what we're trying to accomplish, this is what we're trying to do, this is why. And so appealing either to their intellect or their heart or whatever floats their boat. There's ways, because both are there. The research is there, the data is there, but also how you feel bad about putting a family back together.
Yeah, right.
Why would you not want to be a part of that?
Who does? And with all the bad that's in the world, Tiffany, it seems like this is like the most rewarding thing.
Right.
When it works the way it's supposed to, it could be the most rewarding thing you do all week.
Right.
Just my favorite time is graduation. We always say, like, our graduation, our blood, sweat, and tears have come full circle.
That's our payday.
But to see somebody from day one, because I do their first interview, so I see them from day one until they cross that stage, and on that stage, there's something inside me you can't describe. It's just fulfilling, and you're giving back to your community. We always joke, because I always have tears in my eyes, at graduation. Everybody's like slipping me some tissues, but I'm just an emotional person.
No,
but
love that.
I think that
means you care.
That I do care, and I think that's the reason I've been with this program for so long, and going to other jurisdictions and stuff, and even at conferences, they do have a lot of turnover. And it's consistent turnover. I think the shortest person we have now is our probation officer, but she's new. But other than that, I think one of our counselors has been with us, 5 years, 4 years? So.
Oh no! I mean, we've had counselors with us for 8 years. I mean, I've been around for 14 years. The judge has been around for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't have a lot of turnover on our team. In the positions that are the cornerstones, right? Because it's the other agencies or the other departments that and it's usually not their fault, like the ones that they just get promoted or whatever.
Life happens.
Yeah. So
I know this is one of those voluntary post-conviction treatment-based programs. Right? We went through that. That's what the Cobb County DUI Court program is. So that tells you who's eligible. So do you have good stories about people who say no in the beginning, and then maybe the next time around they're like, you know what, I'm ready for it? Is it a timing issue? Do y'all see things like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think Tiffany remembers them better than I do, because I don't meet with them in the beginning. But everybody's in a different place in their life, and not everybody's ready to admit that they're an alcoholic or that they need help. And so, we're not going anywhere. So we have had people apply and then say no, and then a couple of years later, they're back with one or two more DUIs, and then it's a little bit of a different conversation.
Sure.
Because their defense attorney has got more to work with, but we're still there, and the door's still open, and so we don't like to turn people away, and so we want to offer help.
Yeah, that's all. Do you have any good stories you can think of people who maybe, we just talked about how it brings tears to when they graduate. So what's a great example? Like, I would love for people to hear like a great example of somebody who came in, maybe they didn't want to do it in the beginning, and then ultimately embraced the program and flourished because of it. Do you have any examples?
I don't know if I have one particular story, because usually everybody comes in, even if they don't want to.
Okay. Got it.
But one of the success stories that has always stuck out in my mind.
Okay,
I mean,
perfect.
I met with her. She was at her lowest.
And it's funny you say her, because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a man. I really was. You know what I mean? You just typically think it's when DUIs and bad behavior that it's men, and your example is a perfect reason why my thinking is wrong. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it just stuck out to me so much.
But she was at her lowest. She was in my office, crying. She's like, I need the help. Please help me. And she's never had a job. She's always been in abusive relationships. She had kids that she wasn't connected with. And by the time she graduated, she had her first job. She was able to stand on her own. She was able to have a successful relationship. And just that story and all the trauma that she had, she was able to deal with it in a healthy way. And hopefully she's still successful. I haven't heard from her or anything like that.
Are you
but
able to keep up with people after they leave the program? Is that allowed? I mean,
It is allowed.
I mean,
I just sent out a newsletter recently to the alumni, and some of them don't want to talk to us anymore, and that is okay.
Sure it is. Yeah.
We are a chapter in their life, and if they want to close it,
100%.
we will respect that for sure. But we do have other graduates. We had one woman who was pregnant. And she was drinking, gosh, I don't even know, at least
a lot.
Like a 12-pack or a 24-pack of beer a day. She was in custody in the early stages of her pregnancy, and so then started the program, and she is doing phenomenal. And she has been sober for years.
Congratulations.
We have another graduate who also really had just struggled with mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and that mental health and addiction are intertwined so often.
No doubt.
She had struggled with suicide ideation, drug use, alcohol abuse, was really at the end of her rope. And she did residential treatment first, kind of got a good stable footing, then came into our program and stayed with us for a long time. And she was feisty from the beginning. She was feisty.
Okay.
But she graduated, she is doing so amazing.
Okay.
This woman,
still feisty.
This woman has set the world on fire in all of the best ways.
That's awesome.
She has written a book.
Okay.
She is out there. She fighting for recovery, and she's become a friend of mine. She has just captured my heart. She is doing amazing, and I just feel so honored to really even just be a snippet of time in her journey. It's phenomenal.
That is fantastic. That's the exact story that I was looking for. That one that you're so proud of. And Daniel, I can only imagine that you have something like that too. I mean, I bet there are many times where you're like, man, I'm so glad to see that person do well. I don't know if it's a personal relationship that you develop or how you get connected with them, but you see them and you're like, man, I'm so glad that I was able to assist. I was able to help.
I literally just ran into someone at the Cobb County Sheriff's Foundation golf tournament the other day, and he says that he wears the second chance shirt all the time. He had multiple DUIs. I mean, he was a handful for sure, and the dude is crushing life. I mean, and he literally asks us for the close because he's like, it's a reminder of A, you helped me, but B, not to go back to that place. And people use all of those different things in different ways. But I would say one thing I want to highlight about this whole accountability court conversation is the and I'm not pointing any fingers, pointing that out in the beginning, is the lack of funding across the state of Georgia, right?
Okay.
So a lot of these programs, even the metro, but even outside the metro, there's just not enough to go around, and that's probably the biggest thing I've heard as I make my way around the state. And we work with so many different agencies from the top of Georgia to the bottom of Georgia, east, west, all over. And unfortunately, that's a reality, right? So that's one thing I hope can change in the future. Just to allow these people to have the resources, because obviously it costs money. We know treatment's not cheap, and that's one hot topic that's kind of been discussed over the last couple of years.
No, that's a great point, and I bet most people listening right now have no idea about that. And is that something that y'all see, Darcy or Tiffany, that there is the possibility of that getting better funding?
Yeah, so we're hopeful.
Yeah.
We're hopeful.
That was not convincing.
We have some irons in the fire. We do have diversified funding sources. So
Okay.
we do have the support of the board, which not every county has. Not every county has the support of the Board of Commissioners. So we're grateful that we have their support, and we know that we're lucky to have that. And then we do have some grant funding through the state. DUI courts are one of the smaller pieces of that pie. Which is always been a little odd to me. Drug courts get a lot of money. Vet courts, everyone wants to support vet courts because who doesn't want to support the veterans?
Yeah, sure.
They've definitely earned it the hard way. And 100% we want to support the veterans. But when you're slicing up that pie, there's only so much of that pie to go. And so DUI courts really get the smallest portion almost. And it's odd because DUI courts are the one program that really have the largest impact on the community. Drug offenders typically don't victimize a large portion of the community, or if they do, it's like theft or something like that. DUIs really impact people in a much more significant way because your DUI, either you get home safe, relatively speaking, as a drunk driver, and you've been lucky in that regard, or you don't. So it's
Flip of a coin.
Yeah, and it's kind of one extreme or the other. There's really not a lot of middle ground where like, oh yeah, I was a drunk driver and I hit a bunch of people, but we all walked away fine. That's not usually the case, and so it's important to us. That's why this program is post-conviction. Everyone is convicted. Everyone is on probation. They don't get their charges dismissed. That's important. That's written in the legislature. That's important because they do have consequences for those actions. But, it's also important that these are multiple offenders. And so they're not going to continue to wake up. They're not going to wake up one day and be like, oh, yeah, wow, I really have a problem. I should quit drinking and driving. Because at that point, if they're a multiple offender, it's escalated. Drinking is incorporated in a regular pattern in their life. They've continued to habitually make bad decisions. I think the National Highway Safety Administration has a statistic that boggles my mind. I'm gonna mess it up. So just know that statistics are false and lies. But
Like
a drunk driver drives like at least 100 times before they're even caught the first time. So there's drunk drivers out on the road
sense.
all the time,
totally
all
makes
the
sense.
time. And the more you get caught, the higher the risk you are for continuing that behavior, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to target that and we want to intervene there. And so because of that, we've had over 700 people come into our program. We have an 87% retention rate. That means that 87% of the people that come into our program are going to stay there until their probation expires or they graduate. Like they are getting years of treatment, years of intervention, years of drug testing and accountability before they are released back into the public without that accountability. And, right now we have about 64% or 64 people in our program actively participating. I like to keep track of a statistic that's the active people in our program right now at the time of their arrest. Now, certainly you have the right to refuse a BAC. I'm not an attorney, but everyone has the right to refuse. But the ones who were too drunk to refuse or, elected to participate in the breathalyzer exam on the side of the road, I track their BAC results. And the average BAC result is a 0.207. And that's
a giant number.
That's just the people in our program right now. I think that number is actually higher. If I look at a larger population of like graduates or something, the legal limit is 0.08. So you're encroaching 3 times the legal limit. So that's what they were when they were driving. So that's our target population. That's who we're trying to remove from the streets, show them how to live a different life and not continue to rely on alcohol.
88% success rate. Is that what I heard?
Well, 87% retention rate.
Yeah.
So not all of them make it to graduation because sometimes they get a little stuck in treatment, but we're not going to talk about that because the point is that they were in treatment.
They're working toward it. No, yeah. But what would be the success rate then? Do you have that number?
So we have like an 8% recidivism rate for DUIs. So that's really kind of that's the golden ticket. That's the number that everybody wants to hear. So if you're a multiple offender, the statistics vary based on how many years out you look. So if you look at 3 to 5 years afterwards, your retention rate or your recidivism rate is going to be 30 to 45%. So we're dropping that down to 8%.
Wow. That's an amazing.
And that's not something that really any other type of program in the criminal justice system can boast. So
remarkable is what it is. Talking to Darcy Kamau. No,
I
did it.
Kamau.
You did it.
Even though, like, as I looked at you, I knew I was getting it wrong as I was looking at you. But we're glad to have you, Darcy, and Tiffany Jones too. Of course, Daniel Madelon of a Second Chance Bail Bonds. When we continue, let's talk about who's eligible to participate and how everything works together, being self-funded and all that. So we'll do that in the final segment. Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3.
Extra 106.3 and a Second Chance Bail Bonds are here to back your blue. Now back to the show on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Welcome back to Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3. Darcy Kamau and Tiffany Jones, the coordinator and assistant coordinator of the Cobb County DUI Court, of course, joined by Daniel Madelon of a Second Chance Bail Bonds. In this final segment, I want to talk about this program, like how do people get involved, who's eligible to participate, how much do they have to pay, because it's mainly a self-funded organization. So walk me through the process, Tiffany.
So the way they start is the defense attorney recommends DUI court. Once they recommend DUI court, they fill out an application, they get a clinical evaluation, and they do an interview with me. I present the information that at the interview to our team, and then we decide if that person fits our box of treatment, because we want to make sure that they don't need less treatment or they don't need more treatment. So we're trying to target a certain population. Once they come into the program, they're paying $75 per week. They get 200 hours credit toward their community service work total. So we give them 200 hours as long as they complete the program. Their fines are cut in half. So, for example, if it's $600 plus surcharges, they're going to be paying $300 plus surcharges. And the main goal is that they're receiving the treatment, they're getting the help so they don't go out and reoffend.
Yeah.
So it's a lengthy process at the beginning, but the rewards are so much better.
Oh, it sounds like it. When you say lengthy, is this a week long? Is it a month long to get through? How long does it?
No. It's a minimum of 12 months.
Oh,
minimum of 12
no,
months.
I mean to get into the program.
Oh, the process. No,
Yeah.
well, it really kind of depends on the defense attorney and the
Okay.
defendant and
Yeah,
the courtroom
got
and stuff. And we are able to transfer between counties with other DUI courts.
Okay.
So all of the metro Atlanta counties have DUI courts, and so if you live in one county but offend in another county, we're able to transfer the cases.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
So you want to do the program in the county of your residence.
Yeah. Okay. And then when you get into the program, that's when it's at least 12 months.
Yes.
Okay.
At least.
And so at least. So that means that tells me that we're saying at least that usually it's more.
It is usually a lot more.
A lot more? Like 2 years?
It can take 2
3
years.
5 years.
I feel like we're hopping around.
I think the record, well, and it really kind of depends on how long your probation sentence is, because we have to just wish you well and let you fly from the nest when your probation expires. But if you have all of the time in the world on probation, then we will keep you for all that time until you successfully complete. So the record is probably about 4 years.
Wow.
But the average, really, we want our average. COVID ruined us. We want our average to be about 14 to 16 months.
Okay.
We're not quite there yet, but we are moving in that direction.
Okay, let's say somebody's probation ends, but they're not done with everything and they want to continue. Can they? Is that something that they could do? Or have you ever run across that?
We have. It's rare because at that point it's voluntary.
Right.
They still have to pay the $75.
Sure.
And it's hard because if they don't follow the rules,
there's
then
nothing
what are we
we can
going to do?
do.
We can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So usually if they're it depends on if they're like a week or two out from graduating, then yes.
Okay,
But
got
if
it.
they're not close to graduating, then we just say, hey, you've been in treatment for 2 or 3 years. Like,
Yeah.
go use your skills that
Go,
we
baby
put.
bird.
Go
Go, baby
practice
bird.
those skills.
That's right. Go be good.
Don't come back, but
Yeah.
please say hi.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. So, The community values that you were talking about a little bit earlier, 718 people in the program. Is that 718 total since
admissions
began?
since implementation? Yeah.
Where are we about like right now? I mean, where do we? Is there 100 people in there?
Oh,
is there,
63.
63. Okay. Yeah. So those 63 people. Tiffany, you work with them directly. Is that what I'm hearing? I mean, when I'm So
yeah, we all do.
You okay? All right. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean,
Tiffany does, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, that's the thing.
I get a paycheck.
It was
different roles.
It was less about that, but just the interaction with people. Because I think it's great to get to know. Like if someone's listening to this show and they're thinking for their loved one, this is a good program to get to know who they're actually dealing with is a good thing to be able to hear your voice and to hear the passion that you have and the care that you have and put behind this. I think is so very important because it's going to be the loved one, right? The family member that kind of gives the ultimate push because they're going to maybe listen to the loved one where if you and I just come in and say, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what you got to do, they're going to be a little more reluctant. They'll push back a little more. No?
I find when I do their interview, like I try to make it a relaxing kind of like not nerve-wracking, but I mean, it's a court, so it's going to be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So I try to make them feel comfortable. And at the end of the interview, I always get, oh, this wasn't that bad.
Okay,
so
well, that's a good
I try
thing.
to break the ice early on, and I try to be upfront with them as soon as possible. Like, this is a hard program, and if you're not going to do 110%, then this may not be the program for you.
Wow.
Because this is like working full-time and going to school full-time, and this has to be your number one priority. And if you can't do that and you can't meet our expectations, then
don't waste either of our time.
You really need to sit down and think about, okay, is gel an option? Should I go into inpatient treatment?
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine how heavy those decisions are, Daniel, and I'm sure you see them at your office at a second chance too, right? Just people making the right decisions, and sometimes they're really difficult decisions to make.
Yeah, and some people it becomes, unfortunately, a lifestyle of playing in the world of crime, you know?
Yeah.
It's but we do encourage people to seek the resources, utilize them, and encourage them not to come back to the bonding company.
Yeah, well,
if possible.
Yeah, if you can. Yeah. What's the family involvement like? Is there any family involvement?
It is, and it's important that they do have a support system, and that's part of helping them in this journey is teaching them where to go for help. So community resources that are available, like AA and NA, those are resources that are always available. But also teaching the family how to be a better support. So maybe working on codependency, or educating them on how to support their loved one in the right ways. We do have them participate in family groups. And so they have to bring someone with them to group once a month for the first several months that they're in the program, where they're able to learn these skills. And really, the hope is that participation in that group fosters more communication at home. It fosters other conversations that need to take place in more private settings that allow, if it's a marriage, allows them to rebuild that marriage and that trust and kind of restore that relationship. If it's with their parents or their siblings or something, so many times they've damaged those relationships in their addiction, that they're able to really restore that trust and restore that relationship. And so many times at graduation, we'll have family members stand up and thank us for giving them their son back or giving them their family member back or their husband or whomever. Yeah. And so family does play a really important role. I don't know how much they're listening to their family in the beginning because, right. I mean, I'm a wife. I get it. Like my husband probably thinks I nag, but like that's, I mean,
Darcy,
it's just the thing, I mean, I get it. But like, sometimes when you're going to harm the people that are closest to you because they're the ones that are most passionate about intervening and saving you, and they see the destructive trail that you're on, and you don't want to see that in a loved one. You want to save them because you love them. And so by the time they're in our office and in our program, there's just been so much damage in that relationship that we're really kind of able to help them put those pieces back together.
Final thoughts, how do people get a hold of y'all if they need the service or if they have a loved one that needs the service? I mean, is that even an option, or is it always coming through?
Yeah, and I think just you have to have a DUI pending to really be eligible for this program, and it's good and bad. I mean, one, it's good because we have a target population and we're really serving the community. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the streets safer. Okay, but like, there's a lot of people who have addiction and they need help and they need these programs. And we have family members who call us and say, we want our loved one in your program. And I'm like, well, do they have a DUI pending? Because we can't help you if they don't. Right. And that's always heartbreaking because I understand the desperation that comes from that family member. But certainly, having a defense attorney reach out to us for an application, or understanding the process, we're always available. We always try and answer our phones, or if we're in court or we're busy, we'll always call you back. But you can find more information on our page. We have a Facebook page because I'm old and antiquated. I don't have any other social media.
That's probably a good thing.
CobbCounty.org. We have a page on CobbCounty.org. We do have a nonprofit agency that if people feel so inclined, they can donate to Sober Streets. But I'm not asking for donations because I'm not allowed to.
I'll ask for it on your behalf.
So Sober Streets, they have a website that explains a little bit about how they support our program. So there are some resources out there, and we're online. So if you Google us, you will find us.
Darcy, Tiffany, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank
Just
you.
the insight is so incredible, and I'm glad that Daniel, you set this one up, and I think this is such a good program. Thank you for supporting it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great program.
There you go. That'll do it for us. This is Back Your Blue on Extra 106.3.
This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app.
This morning in North Carolina, wheels are spinning. Determination is winning. A passion is now a thriving business, and it shows no signs of slowing down. How? The power of a conversation, like the one Clint Spiegel had with First Horizon Bank about starting a bike wheel manufacturing facility in Asheville. Now it's not just talk, it's rubber meets road. First Horizon Bank. Let's find a way. Go to firsthorizon.com/Clint. First Horizon Bank, member FDIC.
Support for Extra 106.3 comes from Natural Body Spa and Skin Remedy, celebrating their 35th anniversary and offering gift cards in-store and online. You can discover Mother's Day and anniversary presents online at Natural Body Spa and Skin Remedy at naturalbody.com.
The fan is ready for Brave season. Are you?
3-1 smoked high in the air, deep center field, and heading for the horizon. A home run by Olsen.
We're streaming every game of the Braves 2024 season free on the 680 The Fan app.
So make sure you download it now and don't miss a pitch of the Braves this season.